page 146. Ramona ran screaming onto the playground. "Yeah, yeah! I'm the baddest witch in the world!" Nobody paid any attention because everyone else was screaming too. The noise was glorious. Ramona yelled and screamed and shrieked and chased anyone who would run. She chased tramps and ghosts and ballerinas. Sometimes other witches in masks, exactly like hers, chased her, and then she would turn around and chase the witches right back. She tried to chase Howie, but he would not run. He just stood beside the fence, holding his broken tail and missing all the fun. Ramona discovered dear little Davy in a skimpy pirate costume from the dime store. She could tell he was Davy by his thin legs. At last, she pounced and kissed him through her rubber mask. Davy looked startled, but he had the presence of mind to make a gagging noise while Ramona raced away, satisfied that she finally had managed to catch and kiss Davy. Then Ramona saw Susan getting out of her mother's car. As she might have guessed, Susan was dressed as an old-fashioned girl with a long skirt, an apron, and pantalettes. "I'm the baddest witch in the world!" yelled Ramona, and ran after Susan, whose curls bobbed daintily about her shoulders in a way that could not be disguised. Ramona was unable to resist. After weeks of longing, she tweaked one of Susan's curls and yelled, "Boing!" through her rubber mask. "You stop that!" said Susan, and smoothed her curls. "Yeah, yeah! I'm the baddest witch in the world!" Ramona was carried away. She tweaked another curl and yelled a muffled, "Boing!" A clown laughed and joined Ramona. He too tweaked a curl and yelled, "Boing!" The old-fashioned girl stamped her foot. "You stop that!" she said angrily. "Boing, boing!" Others joined the game. Susan tried to run away, but no matter which way she ran, there was someone eager to stretch a curl and yell, "Boing!" Susan ran to Miss Binny. "Miss Binny! Miss Binny!" she cried. "They're teasing me. They're pulling my hair and boinging me." "Who's teasing you?" asked Miss Binny. "Everybody," said Susan tearfully. "A witch started it." "Which witch?" asked Miss Binny. Susan looked around. "I don't know which witch," she said, "but it was a bad witch." "That's me, the baddest witch in the world," thought Ramona. At the same time, she was a little surprised that others really would not know that she was behind her mask, and had never occurred to her. "Never mind, Susan," said Miss Binny. "You stay near me, and no one will tease you." "Which witch?" thought Ramona, liking the sound of the words. "Which witch? Which witch?" As the words ran through her thoughts, Ramona began to wonder if Miss Binny could guess who she was. She ran up to her teacher and shouted in her muffled voice, "Hello, Miss Binny! I'm going to get you, Miss Binny!" "Oh, what a scary witch," said Miss Binny, rather absent-mindedly, Ramona thought. Plainly, Miss Binny was not really frightened, and with so many witches running around, she had not recognized Ramona. No, Miss Binny was not the one who was frightened. Ramona was. Miss Binny did not know who this witch was. Nobody knew who Ramona was, and if nobody knew who she wasn't anybody. "Get out of the way, old witch!" Eric R. yelled at Ramona. He did not say, "Get out of the way, Ramona." Ramona could not remember a time when there was not someone near who knew who she was. Even last Halloween, when she was dressed up as a ghost and went trick-or-treating with Beezus and the older boys and girls, everyone seemed to know who she was. "I can guess who this little ghost is," the neighbors said, as they dropped a miniature candy bar or a handful of peanuts into her paper bag. And now, with so many witches running around, and still more witches on the big playground, no one knew who she was. "Davy, guess who I am?" yelled Ramona. Surely Davy would know. "You're just another old witch," answered Davy. The feeling was the scariest one Ramona had ever experienced. She felt lost inside her costume. She wondered if her mother would know which witch was which, and the thought that her own mother might not know her frightened Ramona even more. What if her mother forgot her? What if everyone in the whole world forgot her? With that terrifying thought, Ramona snatched off her mask, and although its ugliness was no longer the most frightening thing about it, she rolled it up so she would not have to look at it. How cool the air felt outside the dreadful mask. Ramona no longer wanted to be the baddest witch in the world. She wanted to be Ramona Geraldine Quimby and be sure that Miss Binny and everyone on the playground knew her. Around her, the ghosts and tramps and pirates raced and shouted, but Ramona stood near the door of the kindergarten, quietly watching. Davy raced up to her and yelled, "Yeah, you can't catch me." "I don't want to catch you," Ramona informed him. Davy looked surprised and a little disappointed, but he ran off on his thin little legs, shouting, "Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum." Joey yelled after him, "You're not really a pirate. You're just Mushpot Davy." Miss Binny was trying to herd her 68 charges into a double line. Two mothers who felt sorry for the teacher were helping round up the kindergarten to start the Halloween parade. But, as always, there were some children who would rather run around than do what they were supposed to do. For once, Ramona was not one of them. On the big playground, someone started to play a marching record through a loudspeaker. The Halloween parade that Ramona had looked forward to since she was in nursery school was about to begin. "Come along, children," said Miss Binny. Seeing Ramona standing alone, she said, "Come on, Ramona." It was a great relief to Ramona to hear Miss Binny speak her name, to hear her teacher say Ramona when she was looking at her. But as much as Ramona longed to prance along to the marching music with the rest of her class, she did not move to join them. "Put on your mask, Ramona, and get in line," said Miss Binny, guiding a ghost and a gypsy into place. Ramona wanted to obey her teacher, but at the same time, she was afraid of losing herself behind the scary mask. The line of kindergartners, all of them, wearing masks except Howie, with his pipe cleaner whiskers, was less straggly now, and everyone was eager to start the parade. If Ramona did not do something quickly, she would be left behind, and she could not let such a thing happen, Not when she had waited so many years to be in the Halloween parade. Ramona took only a moment to decide what to do. She ran to her cupboard inside the kindergarten building and snatched a crayon from her box. Then she grabbed a piece of paper from the supply cupboard. Outside, she could hear the many feet of the morning and afternoon kindergartners marching off to the big playground. There was no time for Ramona's best printing, but that was all right. This job was not seat work to be supervised by Miss Binny. As fast as she could, Ramona printed her name, and then she could not resist adding with a flourish her last initial, complete with ears and whiskers. Ramona. Now the whole world would know who she was. She was Ramona Quimby, the only girl in the world with ears and whiskers on her last initial. Ramona pulled on her rubber mask, clapped her pointed hat on top of it, snapped the elastic under her chin, and ran after her class as it marched onto the big playground. She did not care if she was the last in line and had to march beside gloomy old Howie, still lugging his broken tail. Around the playground marched the kindergarten, followed by the first grade and all the other grades, while mothers and little brothers and sisters watched. Ramona felt very grown up, remembering how last year she had been a little sister sitting on a bench, watching for her big sister Beezus to march by and hoping for a leftover donut. "Yah, yah, I'm the baddest witch in the world," Ramona chanted as she held up her sign for all to see. Around the playground she marched toward her mother, who was waiting on the bench. Her mother saw her, pointed her out to Mrs. Kemp, and waved. Ramona beamed inside her stuffy mask. Her mother recognized her. Poor little Willa Jean, in her stroller, could not read, so Ramona called out to her. "It's me, Willa Jean. I'm Ramona, the baddest witch in the world."